Welcome to the She Went Rogue podcast, hosted by me, Courtney Carteret, and edited and produced by my love, Kyle Sherry. This is a podcast where we have conversations about and reflect on personal power, truth, and transformation in the now. So join me and let's do this thing. I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but have you ever had one of those moments where you just wake up with this knowing, aha moment, as the self-help community likes to call it, of why you are where you are and how you got there? Because that's totally what happened to me at 3 a.m. this morning when I was rudely awoken by what I thought was a pending sunrise, but was actually a full as fuck moon shining bright into my windows. And the realization that I had was that this whole steaming heap of horseshit that has been a large chunk of my life could have literally been avoided if I had just listened to myself. And I know to many that may sound like a duh, Courtney kind of thing, but it honestly didn't fully sink in until 3 a.m. this morning. Okay, and I think it's something that I'm not is this a huge conspiracy? Does the government or society or the patriarchy or whatever it is not want us to know that we actually have everything that we need in order to make decisions and know what's best for us and know who's best for us and what we should and shouldn't do inside of our being? Because I'm so baffled at the fact that it's all in here, right? All in the body and the mind and the spirit or whatever have you. But we are all so lost, maybe not all, a lot of us, myself included, are so lost and confused and looking for answers and trying to find someone to show us what to do or how to do it. And I am a prime example, y'all. I had bin upon bin of self-help, spiritual, self-discovery books. If it is something about improving your life, overcoming trauma, learning how to be a better person, finding your purpose, squashing your mean girl, whatever it is, I have probably fucking read it and it's probably sitting on my bookshelf. So I am one of these people, and yet it took me 33 years and some odd days and a full moon on March 9th, 2023 to realize that I could have avoided so much shit if I had just listened to my intuition. If I had just tuned in, dropped in and tuned in to what I actually wanted, what I actually needed, and what was actually right for me. How insane is that? I don't need a self-help book. I don't need a tarot card. I don't need prayer from a religion. I don't need any of these things. If I literally stop for a moment and just get quiet, which is something that so many of us are not doing enough of, really getting quiet with ourselves, that all the answers are there. We all just have different ways of figuring it out for ourselves. I'm just in a state of awe today. And I'm just jumping right in to episode 1 of this podcast after putting it off for months because I've just been so mentally and emotionally demoralized by my own life, loss, grief, trauma, the state of the world, all of it, that I just had zero drive to do anything or feel anything or share anything or basically even be anything. But then this morning, when I woke up at 3, I was like, you have not been through all of this shit for absolutely nothing. There's just no way. No way. And I realized that for far too long, I have been belittling and basically like backhanding my intuition and inner knowing in order to do or be or go or feel the way all these outside forces and things have made me feel, think, believe, want, do, whatever. Ugh. God, like, seriously, ugh. Like, okay, here, like, prime example. Guys, I whipped out my journal, I grabbed a pen, I started, like, scribbling down, like, examples of when I have, like, literally told people, this is probably not the best decision for me. And then what do? The exact thing. Like, the exact thing I said I shouldn't have done. Like, okay, number one example. I had been dating the same guy since I was 15, okay? I thought I was madly in love. And that high school love, obviously, yes, I was. I'm not going to negate the fact that I was madly and wildly in love with this person. Okay? But when I was 21, I was sitting at a bar with a friend of mine who had been married and divorced. She was 27. And I was talking to her about how I had feelings for another guy. And I was like going back and forth on whether, like, what I should do, asking advice. And she asked me at the bar, she goes, without thinking about it, if he were to ask you, if your boyfriend right now were to ask you to marry him, would it be yes or no? Go. And I said no. And I remember like being stopped in my tracks by that response, because it is not a response that I had like tried to rationalize in my mind. Like, I had it in my mind that you meet your high school sweetheart, you go to college, you get married, you buy a house, you have a job, you have babies, and then the cycle just keeps on continuing, right? Like, that's the story that a girl growing up in North Carolina gets told. That's what we all see in pictures, movies, books, everything. We've talked about this to death. But what I'm saying is like, it was true in my life. And despite sitting with a friend and telling her that if he were to ask me today, I would say no. And then I subsequently went on to marry him. Just like, I'm like, why, Courtney? Why? And what happened? I mean, I think most of you know, obviously I'm not with that person. We ended up getting divorced. I went through a fuck ton of pain and heartache. It was like an all-consuming grief over this. And then what did I do next? I nosedived into a relationship with someone 5 years younger than me, thinking that this was smart, yet knowing that moving in together would be a disaster and that he was absolutely 100% not in a position to carry his weight. Not emotionally, not mentally, not like physically, and not financially. Like, I knew this in the back of my head, and still I did it. Like, I literally had something saying, Courtney, do not do this. Courtney, do not do this. And I still fucking did it. And are any of us shocked to find out that it didn't work? And that what actually happened is that I ended up broke and heartbroken after caring for his sorry, lying ass? Like, when does a person learn? When do they learn? And guys, I'm still not done. Like, the lesson still hasn't been learned at this point in my life, right? Because I end that relationship and then I'm like, yep, I'm going to get into a conversation with a guy in California on Instagram. And I am going to convince myself that I am totally in love and this is my person. And I'm going to move, like, again, halfway across the country to be with this person. And everything is going to be perfect. Like, that's what I did. And not only did I pick up my life and move across the country to California to be with him, but I then entwined my entire life with him, my home and my career. My entire life was like intertwined with this person. And I did all of this still with that like niggling little tingle in the back of my head that said, Are we sure? Like, Courtney, are you like 100% on this? Positive? And even though I had that, I had like rationalized it away, right? Like, oh, that's just fear. That's me worrying this is going to be like every other relationship. Like, I was literally ignoring the big red flags being waved in my face. I even did this and kept doing it with this person, even after telling a close friend of mine that I felt like I had made a mistake. That I felt like being with him and choosing to be with him was a mistake. And it's not like I said this like, I don't know, 2 years down the road. I said this like shortly after moving to California. And yet I still ignored it. I didn't listen. And what happened? This one is good. So good. I kid you not. I ended up in jail. Yep. Hands behind the back, handcuffed, loaded into a police car, while my husband, this person I had moved across the country with, started a business with, had a home with, and had married like less than 6 months prior, watched as if he had no clue what was going down. And that's in all likelihood probably because he was stoned, like per usual. But it's like, okay, marriage number 1, weird little niggle. No, I would not marry him, still did it. Next big relationship. Yikes, I'm not sure this is right, but I'm going to ignore it, and still did it. Third relationship. Weird little niggle, Courtney. Courtney, I need you to listen. Don't do it. And I did it. And each time, like literally each time that I did not listen to these things, the consequence got bigger and bigger. And this is my firm belief in the universe, because I truly think that when the universe knows that you're capable of more, deserve more, are more, and can be more, they do these things to like stir the pot that is your life, to make you wake the fuck up so that you realize who you are, what you want, where you need to be, and why you're here. So here I was, a few months later, charges are dropped, case dismissed, tons of cash spent, divorce, new home, and a reorganization of my business. Like literally every aspect of my life completely upturned. And I was left basically starting over again. So I took it a step further and asked myself, what are the systems, the things, the beliefs, the da-da-da-da that are in place that have like led me to being this person, and second guessing and also just completely squashing what I know to be true for myself? And without thinking about it way too much, I just jotted down a few things, and that included religion, family, society, patriarchy, capitalism, fear, attachment style, and trauma. And those are just the few things that I came up with off of the top of my head. So let's dive in. And I want to go ahead and make it clear that I am coming from my point of view and what I experienced growing up in the community I grew up in, with the family that I grew up with, in the religious, environment that I grew up in. These are like my thoughts on these things. So let's go. Religion. This taught me to look outside myself and ask someone else for answers and guidance, and also led me to believe that going off of what I knew to be true was complete nonsense and not to be trusted. I was like taught so rigidly that I needed to pray for answers and ask someone else for guidance, rather than looking inside myself and trusting who I am and what I wanted. Family was all about pretending to be happy even when you're not. My family was excellent at denying truth and emotion. The ideal here was just don't talk about it. Just yell about it and then pretend it didn't happen once you're out of the car and walking your Sunday best into church. Also, P.S. Divorce is for losers. Assimilate or be annihilated. Society, aka follow the plan, girlfriend. Get married, buy the house, have babies, and do it all before you can legally figure out what kind of beer you even like. What? Come on, man. Patriarchy is the... I feel like I go to start talking about this and I feel like I just can't. But, like, come on, this should just be a given. I'm a woman, so therefore I'm less than, right? Like, that's what everything tells me. I deserve less. I am worth less. So that's what it is. Obviously, I know that that's not true, and I do not believe that. What I'm saying is that, like, that's what patriarchy wants us to believe, and the values that they want us to live by. Capitalism is the AKA work, work, work so someone else can get rich, deny your dreams and your own personal goals because Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk need more cash, and then die because that's what dreams are made of. Hashtag America. Fear is that sneaky little douchebag in everyone's head shouting, "You can't do this, you'll fail, that's too risky, play it safe, woman." Attachment is that whole, I didn't have a solid base of who to count on or when, so I've been fumbling through life like a blindfolded idiot, swinging at the piñata that is life, hoping some happiness and fulfilling relationships fall out when I hit it. Okay? Trauma, aka the stuff that assholes, parentheses, people, communities, societies, experiences, anything that is not working in your best interest, does to you that makes you feel unworthy, unlovable, ruined, and a complete sack of shit. Basically, any of the isms, abuse, neglect, violence, etc. So, like, I'm still just bewildered, that's like... Those things and those ideas and those thoughts were just some of the few things that I jumbled down and like a 15-second little like bling of awakening. Okay? So is it any wonder that I and so many other people cannot, for the life of yourself, access your own thoughts, feelings, opinions, and most importantly, intuition? There's like literally so much garbage working against us. And don't even get me started on technology. And yes, I know how conflicting that sounds, that I am sitting here recording a podcast on a MacBook Pro with a mic, surrounded by all my things, and I'm bitching about technology. But the truth of the matter is that it has led to so much distraction and so much noise that I think we are forgetting what it is to like be the sheer essence of a human. We have lost touch, myself included, myself fully, for a long time. I would say probably up until like this last year, I had like fully lost touch with who I really was and my own inner guidance system and intuition, because of all these different things. But if there's one thing I've realized, it's that each and every single one of these profoundly fucked up things that I've experienced has gotten me one step closer to home. The home that is who I am, what I want and believe, and how I go about living my life and making decisions. Like, I firmly believe that anytime we don't listen to our intuition, lessons happen through trauma or just really difficult experiences. I genuinely feel like I am living proof of this belief. Like, at every turn when I've not listened, something has happened to yank me out of that trance-like state of just doing what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing and forcing me back on track with what my life should be. I also believe that when we do listen to our intuition, magic happens. So let me tell you about incredibly beautiful things that have happened when I said fuck that noise and sent a rallying cry through my bones that come hell or high water, I was going to do what I knew I wanted to do because it lit me up and made me feel expansive and alive. The first thing that came to mind was buying my VW Westfalia camper van. And this was back in 2013. And telling my husband at the time that he could either go with me or stay home. But either way, I was seeing beyond the state lines of North Carolina and figuring out for myself via experience where I wanted to live and be. So I did it. Like, didn't question it. Threw like $11,000 at a VW van, bought a 1974 one, read books on how to travel for weeks on end, like what you do about your mail, where do you go pee, how do you do laundry, what do you need in terms of clothing and sleeping and all of those things. Like I figured it all out, made shit happen because I knew, like without even like a hint of hesitation, that this is what I was supposed to do, this is what I wanted to do, and I was going to do it. And by listening to that and trusting that, like, sure, this is a big purchase, and sure, that's kind of risky, like asking your husband to take, a sabbatical from work so you can travel around from 10 weeks. A lot of people would tell you that's kind of not logical. But I did not care what other people said or thought about it. I just knew this is what I wanted and this is what I was going to do. And I got to tell you, I still daydream about those days on the road. And I have never ever slept better in my entire life than I did on the top bunk of that 74 Volkswagen Westfalia. Like, I kid you not, there's something profound about waking up with the sun and going to sleep when the sun went down that balanced the rhythm of my body, and I slept without medication and through the night and woke up feeling rested. And that was the first time and the only time in my life that I can recall that happening. And not only that, but I had seriously beautiful experiences all over the country. And it allowed me to like see beyond my initial viewpoint, meet new people, experience new places, and decide for myself what I wanted and where I wanted to be living. And because of that choice, that decision to just go and see and do, I ultimately decided that like we were moving to Colorado. Okay? I wanted to change. I wanted to live somewhere bigger and different. So I did just that. And that decision, listening to that without hesitation, not second guessing it, not saying, you know what, maybe in a few years we'll think about leaving North Carolina and moving to Colorado. Like, no, it was like, no, I'm sorry. We are like on a roll here and we are going. We just went on this trip. It's amazing. We know where we want to live. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm ready to go. And I did it. And that decision, again, led to incredible people. Like, I still have one of my best friends because I lived in Colorado. I hiked so many mountains, saw so many beautiful things, drank so much good beer, and learned ultimately that my marriage, the first one, was stifling me. And I know that may sound like not a pretty thing, but in all honesty, it is a pretty thing because it got me back to the truth of what I wanted and led me to where I am today. So again, making it like listening to myself and what I wanted, fucking the noise of other people and their thoughts, and just doing it led to like so many eye-opening experiences. And then the next thing that I think of is just chasing after this dream of being a full-time photographer. I had talked myself out of it for so long. It had been ingrained in me that like I needed a steady job and a paycheck and an income and retirement and all of these things, and I couldn't make that happen for myself. And I'm honestly not sure truly where that sense of like needing a company or another business like that wasn't my own to provide for me came from, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Like, my stepdad had a home inspection company that he built. My granddaddy was a contractor and a builder for himself. My mom was a real estate agent for herself a lot of the time. My biological dad flipped houses and sold them himself. Like, I come from people who built businesses, and I'm just like sitting here baffled that I, for some reason, thought I wasn't capable. But anyway, so I had told myself that going after full-time photography was like a pipe dream and maybe something I could just do on the side, and it was a hobby. And then I finally met a mom of a kid at one of my schools I was working at who believed in me. And when you meet someone that truly believes in you and sees your work and tells you that you're capable of doing more and you should be doing more and you're not where you should be and you should actually be doing that thing, it is so freeing. Like, so freeing. And it took that little piece of permission to make a swift yet really quick shift in my head that nope, that is the future for me. She made it happen. She sees that I can make it happen. I am going to make it happen. And so I did. And the most recent moment where I have listened to my own intuition and followed the guidance that I knew that was right for me is basically taking this last year or so and just slowing down and being and grieving and not putting a lot of pressure on myself to perform or create or work. I spent a lot of days. I know that sounds so privileged, and it is. I am privileged. But I spent a lot of days just sitting in the sun. I got to have time with Pearl before she died. We spent afternoons on the beach. I would hike up to the hot springs. I read a lot of books. I spent time with people that I loved. I didn't feel this overwhelming urge to go out and find new clients to shoot photography for and do all these things. And even when I did try to do that, I didn't get a response back. And I didn't get super upset about it. It was more like the universe is telling me to slow down. Slow down and go within. And so I did. A complete surrendering happened. And I have honestly learned more about myself and the time since that idiotic arrest to now than I think I did the entire 32 years that I lived up to that point. And the biggest takeaway was learning to hone in and listen to what I actually knew to be right and true for me, and tuning out all the other bullshit that keeps us from feeling alive, happy, and free. Seriously. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've got it all figured out and I can tell you exactly how to do it. I haven't mastered the art of accessing my intuition, but I am working on it regularly. I have learned through trial and error, experience, therapy, and self-inquiry that my biggest moments of joy and expansion come from a place of being grounded and secure in myself and what I want and what I need. I am no longer looking outside of myself for answers. I am tuning in to me. There is no timeline. There is no checklist. Society, religion, capitalism, the patriarchy, all of it are things that at the end of the day are officially inconsequential to me and who I know myself to be. Maneuvering life any other way than intuitively has only led me to heartbreak and trauma. And honestly, enough is enough already. I want more thriving and less surviving. So that's what I'm going to focus on in hopes of avoiding any additional jail time. Kind of joking, but then again, not really. Thank you for listening as I sift through the cobwebs that are my brain to try to make sense of my past in order to step into my future a little more clear-headed, aligned, and at a place where I can hear my intuition and make decisions from the the core truth of me rather than all the outside forces that are trying to convince us of what we want or need or who we are or what we need to do or all those different things. So this has been episode 1 of the She Went Rogue podcast. Until next time. Okay, bye.